András Valaczka is a professor, writer, and head of the Pastoral Pedagogical Secretariat of the Hungarian province. He began his teaching career in a secondary school for hearing-impaired children, then taught in high school and the university. Since 1996, he has been a teacher in Pires Secondary School in Budapest. Throughout his career, he has published numerous studies and essays in various literary journals and several volumes on contemporary novels and lyric works. So please join me in welcoming András Valaczka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear brothers and sisters. Let me first introduce some friends of mine, because I am not a general, neither a provincial, yet I have 4 assistants. Please come Zétény first. Tell us your name.
I am Zétény, and I started in a Pires school this September.
This September, so he's a homo novus and will help us, thank you. And now Ákos. Ákos is his classmate of Zétény. Your name?
My name is Ákos, and I'm a 7th grader at the Budapest Pires School.
Which is your favorite subject?
Grammar.
Grammar. And now the older ones, Lukács.
Hola, I'm Lukács, and I'm an 11th grader.
And he really liked to speak in Spanish.
Sí, es la verdad.
Mondd el, hogy minek vagy az elnök.
Y soy el presidente del gobierno estudiantil en nuestro colegio.
He is really modest, but he is the president of the school's students' council. And now Matthew. He is from the last year.
Matthew is the name of the evangelist. Matyás is more like Matías in Spanish. So yeah, pleasure to be here. I'm in the 12th grade, so I spent 6 years in the Pires School of Budapest. And yeah, as I've said, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, you are here. Dear brothers and sisters, this form, brothers and sisters, is perhaps a little bit pathetic or with a lot of emotion, but it is from my heart, from corazón. Because I think integrated education seems to be so scientific, but I think it's so simple. It's from the heart, from the corazon. And today everything is about artificial intelligence, but I think in the classroom reality we have the natural intelligence and natural heart, corazon. Here is outside our brilliant doctor, Peter, who was our student, who was in the classroom of Victor, our provincial, and he has only one device. It's for the heart. It's a reanimating device. So it's the most important part of us, I think. If you have read the novel, or have you seen the very, very new series on Netflix, Cien años de soledad, you know, 100 years of solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. You know that one time Aureliano Buendia wants to commit suicide, and he asked the doctor to draw a circle on his chest. Where is his heart? But the doctor make a mistake, and another place is signed, so he survives. I say brothers and sisters because Pope Benedict, you know, Joseph Ratzinger, the great theologian, said in Caritas in Veritate that in this global village, during the globalization, we became neighbors, but haven't became brothers. And here I feel that we still are brothers and sisters. You have crossed the oceans from Africa and Asia and from America. This room now just is a global village, a very global village, and we are not only neighbors, but also brothers and sisters. I don't know if you heard about it, but this word brother is a very, very old and very common word of the world. It is in the ancient German brodir, in the Danish language broder, in the Dutch broeder, in the New German bruder, in the Sanskrit India bratar. Maybe I don't pronounce exactly. Bratar. Is it good? Bratar in the Sanskrit. In the Greek, frater, in the Latin, frater, and in the Turkish, birader. It's a common expression for us, brother and sister. And in the very beginning of the Bible, there is a very sad story about brothers, Cain and Abel. And there is the question which is mentioned in the novel of Steinbeck, East of Eden. Am I supposed to take care of my brother? It is the question of Cain. Am I supposed to take care of my brother? Yes, you are supposed. And I think that is the corazon, That is the heart of education. That is the essence of integrated education. That yes, teacher, you are supposed to be with care of your brother. You must take care of your brothers. You know, this high tech, this technology, in my opinion, is partly useful, partly it is our enemy. It was in the short film an idea of mine that the real encounters are very rare now because of chat, Facebook, social media, no real encounters amongst the youngsters. And it's an illness, it's a disease. So that's why in the first part of my lecture, I avoid the high tech and I brought some paper box of bananas. For our brothers from Asia, I have brought the picture of Mahatma Gandhi and an idea of him about education. Gandhi said, education must be craft-centered. Students have to do something, to perform something, to create with their hands, with their body, with their mouth, with their eyes, and not only watching the technology. Craft-centered education. And I think when PRE schools go for trips, for mountain hikings, for camps, for football matches, it's, according to Gandhi's idea, it's a craft-centered studying by creating. Next bananas box shows Nelson Mandela for our brothers from Africa. Mandela's idea about education is just for us, just for this Congress, because he says a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. A good head and a good heart, corazón, wonderful word. The third one is from America. And it was already mentioned, the best, the greatest of all Arthur Marquez. For me, I'm sorry, for me. He did not write a lot about education, I think, but he has a very important sentence in the novel, you know, when they can't sleep in Macondo, and everything is forgotten. At the beginning of the road into the swamp, they put up a sign that said Macondo. And another larger one on the main street that said, God exists. wonderful part of the novel Cien años de soledad. Finally, for the European brothers, that's the last. And after it, I pass the microphone to the Los Niños. Last one is our man, Neumann János, John Neumann, Johann Neumann. I think he's the father of computer. A lot of fathers of computer, but he is the greatest. I say he's a European scientist, and as well Hungarian, but he was a Jewish Hungarian scientist. And amongst the Nobel Prize winners, there is a lot of Hungarian scientists who almost each of them are Jewish Hungarian scientists, because Budapest was a mixed population with German, Jewish, and Hungarian citizens. Neumann is the father of game theory, game theory. Game theory, for example, the prisoner's dilemma, or the battle of sexes, battle of girls and boys, is just used in the banking sphere and everywhere. The game theory. The game theory is the meeting of the morals and the logic, the brain and the heart. What to do? What decision is better for the community? Because sometimes what is good for me is not good for the community. That is, for us religious people, Christian people, is a moral question. But for the mathematicians, it is a racial, intellectual question. And Neumann and his followers found out with computing, counting, that for the community, the best is if from 8 cases, at 5 cases, you may be selfish. But please, at 3 times, be unselfish. And that's the best for the whole of community. And that's why I made this one in the evening. It is an octaeder with 8. You can make it at home. Only 8 pieces of triangles. And please paint 5 on black and 3 on white. And if you have to choose, have to make a moral decision, please use it. I have some students, now they are 20 years old, who use this device to make decisions. But mathematics is a great thing, but we are not here for that, because we are Christian ones. And at the Holy Thursday, the foot washing, the Lord's Supper, Last Supper, the Gospel, John 13 says in Greek about Jesus, eis telos agapesen autos. He loved them unto the end. It is a strange and difficult expression for the scientist of the Bible. The English is too simple, unto the end. You know, the English language has a style of understatement. If you are very badly and you are dying, and I ask, how are you? Not really well. That is understatement, not really well. And I think that he loved them unto the end is an understatement, not exact. The French translation is the most beautiful for me. The French gospel says, Il les aima jusqu'à l'extrême. L'extrême. That's why I think we don't love students 3 or 4 or 5 jusqu'à l'extrême. That is integrated education for me from the heart. But at this point, I take a break and give the microphone to Los Niños. What have they got during the years from the peerist, non-formal, whole day education? First, the older ones, perhaps Lukács, in Spanish. So the translator have to change the direction. Thank you.
Bueno, pues primero tengo que admitir que no estoy en una posición fácil porque creo que hay innumerables cosas que se podrían decir, pero tengo una experiencia muy reciente porque en la semana pasada estábamos en un retiro sobre las relaciones con Dios, con los amigos, relaciones de pareja y los demás. Y tuve una conversación muy inspiradora con uno de los profesores, el señor Kutashi, y que hablaba sobre su matrimonio y la importancia de la comunicación y la forma de la comunicación, y compartió algunas reflexiones muy útiles e interesantes. Y bueno, pues todavía estoy muy joven, pero cada vez es más relevante, y creo que es muy importante que tener ejemplos adelante nosotros, para no solo en nuestro aprendizaje en la escuela, pero también en la vida. Y creo que en nuestro colegio y con los profesores es una cosa muy importante también. Listo. Gracias.
Before start of the school in September, we had freshman camps. We got together in a beautiful place in the countryside. In Hungarian, we call these events stork camps because storks, when they migrate, they need to fit into their new home. We had lots of fun activities, such as sports, we climbed mountains, and we had an outdoor holy mass. The class members immediately connected and formed a community. I instantly got a lot of friends, and our teachers did not seem too scary either. We had a nativity play before Christmas. It was a unique experience. It was a 400-year-old script. The text was written in ancient Hungarian and was found in a bindery of books. The play was accompanied by ancient religious music and Gregorian hymns. I played God, which I found pretty challenging. Everyone brought props and costumes from home, a real community experience.
So I'm going to talk about school trips and the cooking course. So we had a lot of school trips with the class, and all of them were great. Our first hiking trip was in autumn, and it really helped to build a community. I made friends during this trip because we chatted a lot, played with each other, and spent a lot of time together, and we became friends. My favorite one was the school ski trip because I love skiing, especially with my friends. I had a lot of crashes, but it made it more fun. I learned a lot from all of my trips with my classmates and teachers, and I loved all of them. Cooking course. There is also a cooking course in our school where the mood is fantastic. It's on a Friday once a month. We cook for hours. After that, we eat the food we cooked, and then we clean the dishes, which is easy because lots of us are joining. Last time, we made mashed potatoes with sausages and with eggs. We call it rakott krumpli. I love to cook with my friends and my classmates, but the best part is that you can eat it.
Apologies in advance, as my story will be a bit more frivolous than the others. This happened to me around a year ago, during the time of Lent, the Durante de la Quaresma, if I remember correctly. And I was asked by a junior in the Piarist order to be an altar server during the services in the Holy Week, La Semana Santa. And this isn't the frivolous part yet, because during this time I was in love with a girl. Again, not a really special kind of feeling. I think some of you know it well, and maybe the priests not so well. So I was in love with this girl, but she dumped me, and I thought to myself, I can live through this. I can survive this. I'm strong, independent, all the other things. So I thought it was fine for me to go to a party, a fiesta, when she too was in attendance, and I went there. I saw her and I said to myself, ay caramba. I cannot do this. I simply cannot. And this is when I made my mistake. I drank, and I drank a lot, and I drank really irresponsibly. In Hungary, we have a saying, borra sör, meggyötör. In English, if we want to keep the rhyming scheme, is something like beer after wine is no friend of mine. So I've mixed some beer, some wine, some spirits. So I became quite drunk, quite illuminated, and and I fell. I got a pretty huge black eye, ojo morado, and even a scar here going towards my ear. And I looked like a highwayman, un salteador. Really, it was terrible and huge. And at first I was ashamed, of course, and I thought this is a sign of my weakness, a sign of my sin, a stigma even. And the second thing I thought about was that this was on Wednesday in the Holy Week. So a day after, I was supposed to go into the PRS school, the PRS chapel, and serve as an altar boy. And again, I thought to myself, this is impossible. I cannot do this. So I wrote a message to the junior, András, saying that here's the situation. I've got this huge black eye. I think it would be inappropriate for me to do the mass, do the service. And he wrote back saying that if it isn't a problem for me, then it sure isn't one for them. And this made me feel, at first this made me feel happy, to be sure. And then I actually went to do the mass, and how do you say the little room? Yeah. So in the sacristy, the priests, the PRist fathers, joked around with me, asking in which fight I got this black eye. Yeah, my answer was along the lines that I was traveling on the bus, on the public transport, and somebody denounced the Holy Trinity, so I had to fight him. Yeah, so that was a joke, of course. I didn't really do that, but this sort of jovial atmosphere and friendly atmosphere made me feel like I was absolved. It was an experience of absolution, which is the same in Spanish, absolución. And I found myself freed of my mistake, of my sin. So it was a really fitting experience to feel this during Easter. On Saturday, I was even allowed to be the turifer, the one with the flames and the smoke, and yeah, this responsibility that was given to me, even though I was a sinner, made me feel a real connection to the PRS schools and the PRS mentality, PRS spirit, PRS heart, corazón, as Mr. Valaczka likes to say. Yeah, thank you very much.
Wonderful story. Now you can see how we do in Hungary. Integrated education. Now the Los Niños may stay or may leave as they prefer. Please, the PowerPoint. Ott a presenter, okay. The technology is under the boxes. Ah, it is here. Perfect. Oh. So, two more parts of this lecture. First is a short presentation about integrated education. And the second, if we have time, I brought 3 very short film or video. One from Cardinal Timothy Radcliffe. He speaks about the crisis on the synod, because I think that our job, our work, and in general the Los Niños, the youngsters, are in a kind of crisis. And Cardinal Radcliffe speaks about the usefulness of crisis. The other one is from Sir Ken Robinson, who speaks about creativity and school. The fear from failure kills the creativity. And I am proud, really proud as a teacher, that these young boys didn't afraid from failure, and that's the aim of integrated. And the third one is from the Catalonian philosopher Josep Maria Esquilor. We have heard him some weeks ago in Barcelona. It was excellent, and I found a talk with him. He speaks about only 2 words: the needs, and desire, and the difference between needs and desire. If we have time, I try to be short, because we can send a presentation and you can see it afterwards. First of all, about the idea of integrated education is mentioned as early as 1977 in Holy See document. Integrating, but what? For example, life and faith. But my focus is today on how to do it today, in our present. What's the crisis? What's the actual difficulty? First is the technology. You know, I am nervous from the technology. It is a kind of disease, as I mentioned. This plan is from an English philosopher, Jeremy Bentham. He presented it to the Parliament, Houses of Parliament in London. It is a plan of a prison which you can maintain very sustainably. It's very cheap prison because only 1 guard is enough. He is in the center of the round building. It's just an arena. The guard looks up and down. There is a window to the street and a window inside. The guard is in the darkness, and only 1 person can watch 1,000 of prisoners. Oh, what a great idea. But it wasn't made. It's only a plan. The similar vision is that of George Orwell, 1984, dystopic future about everybody is watched. And it is true today. It is not dystopic, it's real. we, from our own decision, make public our life on the social media. So we are watched. But on the other side, I, as a teacher or a principal or a leader of a group of students, it's just the opposite. I can't see their life because it's through the mobile phone. It's through the channels of chatting. There are secret groups. There are bullying, and I, as a teacher, don't know about anything. That's the main difficulty of a teacher today, how to lead them faith and life integrated when their life is separated from mine. The other document which mentions integrated education says to promote friendly relations and fosters a spirit of mutual understanding. Of course, it's our aim, our purpose in the school to make friendly connections. But I think that is a horrible picture. Terrible devices. It's the alternative reality, VR headset. They long hours in the afternoon, in the evening, and during the night are playing the games through these devices. How to make mutual understanding and promote friendly relations through these ones. It's a real difficulty of our teaching, educating aims. The third one, integrated education, growing in humanity, of course. I teach not only language or literature, but also educate them for more humanity. But as this American writer says, today the youngsters live with their mobile devices, and it leads them to a misunderstanding of real life. Jonathan Franzen says in Greek in the English text, it was a paid advertisement in New York Times. He's a famous writer, but he paid to send his own ideas. It was a paid advertisement, a whole page advertising in New York Times. And he says that the goal of technology is, and he continues in Greek, the telos of techne, it is from Aristotle, the telos of techne, to replace a word that is indifferent to our desires with a word that satisfies our desires in all respects. So humanity and this feeling for the youngsters that through the applications I can make love connections. I can find girls and girls find boys. For everything we have an application, apps. It's not for growing humanity, I think so. And Jonathan Franzen shares this idea. Father Alonso has written a book, Holiness for Social Change. And in that, he mentions the practices of Colossans, the practices of the priorist schools, which can represent the integrated education. And I really share this idea that, for example, drama performances, excursions, and other non-formal activities are very important in integrated education. But the technology. He is a Hungarian scientist, biologist. They make you know, the pictures about the brain. I don't know the word, perhaps Patty, the doctor, could help me, but he isn't here. To make pictures about the brain. And in their study, you can see the morphological change of the brain of the internet-dependent, addicted boys and girls. Today, the doctor's devices and the monitors shows the pictures of brain, and you can see on the brain that the prefrontal cortex is smaller and the nucleus accumbens is bigger, morphologically. So it isn't only a speaking about the dangers, but it's a reality. Victor, our provincial, yesterday mentioned the president of Hungarian Scientific Academy. He's a brain scientist. He was on our conference in the winter. He says the same about the brain, and he has suggestion, because nowadays the problem is that all of us, we see the problems, the difficulties, but we don't know the solution. But he knows, and he suggests more and more activity, as Gandhi says, craft-centered education, because the youngsters only get input, and they can't make outputs. So shortly, in a nutshell, and I finish it because the time is running, tempus fugit. In a nutshell, in the school, our main aim with integrated education to make such pedagogical situations, such learning situation in which students create something, do something. They draw, they run, they make excursion, they speak, they make short films with their mobile phones. Speak. Learning by creating. I think that's the solution, and it is said by the scientific colleague. How many time I have? Nobody knows, neither me. 1 hour? Okay. Thank you. No? Should I be shorter? Okay. Opening cultural centers, it's just the same, I think, because there they can create, they can perform dramas. As Zétény mentioned, we perform under the nativity drama, to make dramas, to make performances, and to be careful that our students don't be afraid, because it's against the creativity. It is about the Finnish model of pedagogy. You know, they are the best, the Finnish school. And this scientist wrote a really short book, what is about the Finnish model? And he says only a very short sentence. He says, it is the logic of the Nokia man. The Nokia man. Fear of failure does not give room for creativity. Fear of failure. I'm really happy that these niños has no fear to be here in front of 2,000 of teachers, no fear. And it is said in the Nokia Center, and it is said in the Finnish school, and I think it is important for all of us in our peerist schools, because integrated education have to mean also this attitude. Maybe now I go too high, but only for a moment. Martin Heidegger is an important philosopher in the German culture. And he is a really original thinker and brave to write about themes which are not common. For example, he has written a book about tiefe Langeweile, when they don't know what to do. The time is too long, the lecture is too long. It is the tiefe Langeweile, what to do. You can see in your schools the children who don't know what to do, how to spare their free time. This deep boredom is about what Heidegger has written. So our aim, our purpose in the school, also this area must to be integrated. And this is the whole time school of the peerist institutions. The whole day, the whole life, the whole time. That's why we love cultural centers, to be a cultural center where they can do sports, excursions, and their life isn't so empty. I hope it's exact, this quotation from Father Pedro. If Calazans had devoted his life only to teaching children, we would not be here today. I remember you mentioned this. Is it true? So if we are the sons and daughters of Calazans, co-workers of the truth, now we have to build new peerist world, have to go forth, have to go ahead, have to change, have to do otherwise than in earlier times, have to answer these questions of technology, not in the same place standing, but going ahead, going forth. To build new style of teaching and education. Integrated education is, according to my opinion, in that short word of us, et. Pietas et. Pietas et literacy. One more philosopher, I'm sorry. He is Byung-Chul Han, Korean and from Switzerland, I think, or Germany. His best book is about society of burnout. Society of burnout. I think it's us. And it's very interesting that he says it's exactly from the freedom of today. The free society make us burnt out because our students get the message, you can do anything. No, you can go ahead, you can make careers, and if they can't, it's frustration for them. And Byung-Chul Han says it's worse than in a dictatoric society. And one more is Guy Debord, the French philosopher who wrote about to be seen. Yesterday I made a lot of photographs about being here and sharing on the Facebook sharing. All of us want to show pictures about himself or herself, and to be seen is the main stream of our age, to be seen, not only to have, but to be seen. And that's why in Greek words, today is the end of logos and the age of eidos, the picture. These problems are in the schools, so we have as integrating teachers think about these problems. I think so. Pietas et literi in the Tonti memorandum of Calazans is not pietas et literi, but la luce di Dio et la luce del mondo. And I think it's the same in the Tonti memorandum, which is integrated education, to show for the students la luce di Dio, pietas, et la luce del mondo, literi. And again, the et is the main point. And the other one, sometimes I am alone when I speak about technology as a disease. This idea is neither trendy, nor fancy, nor sexy. I am alone sometimes, but I'm sure that it is a disease. And that's why it is important that Calasanz speaks about sanativo. The students are, in a certain sense, ill. The society, in a certain sense, has got a disease. And Calasanz is true nowadays, too. So we have to present preservativo e sanativo del male. Medicines for the disease of technology were no real encounters between students. Oh, again a German. Thomas Mann. He says in Mario and der Zauberer, it's a short story in Italy, Mario and the Zauberer, that kann man vom Nichtwollen nicht leben. Only to fight against the mobile phone and mobile addiction and every kind of addiction, to fight against it. No, you mustn't use. I don't want to see your mobile. It's not enough. This quotation is about this idea. Thomas Mann says that kann man vom Nichtwollen nicht leben. To say, no, you mustn't, you shouldn't, it's not enough. We have to present a cultural center in the school, excursions, football matches, sports, swimming, games together, funny programs. That's the integrated education today, I think. Also from Father Pedro, I hope so. The fragrance of the kingdom of God. The fragrance of each other. When the student don't have real encounters, they don't feel the fragrance of the other human being, not of the kingdom of God. So the education of faith must include educating together in a real encounter. Perhaps the last one. I finish. And perhaps we have time for a video of Timothy Radcliffe. The burnout is not only of us. The burnout is present among the students. The very young can be burnt out. You can find it in studies of psychologists. So our students can be burnt out too. And it is in connection with the type of their exercises, the aims, because there is 2 types of aims. One is a competitive aim in the school. The school is full of competitive situation. I am the better, or he or she. How many scores I got, competitive. The more competitive situations in the school, the more chance for burnt out. So we have to find that type of activities which is not so competitive. This also is competitive, of course, but not so much than this one. When I look back, where is he or she? It's competitive. The more competitive situation in the school, the more chance to become burnt out for the students. Oh, more. We will send it you. Just this one. It's my favorite. In the Middle Ages, there was some centuries when no pictures nowhere. And it is Kenneth Clark, a British historian. He found this picture in a codex, and he shows, look, they had to write there, this is imago hominis, because they didn't know what is the picture of man like. No pictures. They didn't know what are they like. What is the face of man like? And they had to write there, this is imago hominis. I think it's very interesting. When the human being doesn't know what is his or her shape like, today we can't imagine. So today is just the opposite. Pictures. No logos, much eidos. This is our age. So, someone's got this text, which is about the short films, but if you didn't get, you can. Thank you very much, Andy. The first video, and here I say thank you for Joseph Urban, because you were who shared this speech on the Facebook during the synod. The speech of Timothy Radcliffe. In the booklet you can find in English, then in Hungarian and in Spanish. 1, 2, 3rd films. It perhaps helps to understand because they speak very quickly. But it's very short, only 3 minutes, one and the other. Why did I choose these ones? Timothy Radcliffe talks about the crisis and the Jerusalem Synod from the Gospel ages. And he says the crisis is useful to find a renewal. And that's what I have to speak finally, that I have talked about is crisis and crisis and crisis. Problems, difficulties, technology, no encounters. But Timothy Radcliffe says that crisis is a good situation for renewal. And let's listen to this short part.
Good morning. So participation, government and authority. What processes, structures and institutions are needed in a missionary synodal church? Luke, whose feast we celebrate today, tells us in Acts 15 about the so-called Council of Jerusalem. We'd hoped to actually hear the text, but we're all Catholics, so we all know the Bible by heart, I'm sure. It was called to face the first great crisis after Pentecost. The church was profoundly fractured between the Jerusalem church and Paul with his gospel of freedom from the law. Within the Jerusalem church, the convert Pharisees are divided from the rest, and the apostles led by Peter are probably divided from the elders who look to James, the brother of the Lord. So the church faces a crisis of identity which exceeds anything that we can imagine today. Pope Francis said at Lisbon this summer, "A life without crisis is an ascetic life. A life without crisis is like stagnant water. It's not good for anything. It doesn't taste of anything." We mature through crises, from the crisis of our birth to the great crisis of our death. If we embrace crises in hope, we shall flourish. If we try to avoid them, we shall never grow up. My American brethren gave me a T-shirt which said, "Have a good crisis." We read, or we thought we were going to, the apostles and elders gathered together to consider the matter. The church is always being gathered, as we are today in the Synod. In the third Eucharistic prayer we say, "You never cease to gather a people to yourself, so that from the rising of the sun to its setting, a perfect sacrifice may be offered to your name." The Greek word for the church, ecclesia, means a gathering across space and across time. Are we willing to be gathered together? Not just physically, but in our hearts and minds too. Gazing at Jerusalem before his death, Jesus said, "How often have I desired to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her brood under her wing, but you were not willing." Are we willing to be drawn beyond mutual incomprehension and suspicion? Or shall we be like the older brother in the parable of the prodigal son, who stands on the edge?
I think it makes us braver, or make me braver, this sentence, "Have a good crisis." And I am planning to make such T-shirts for my students before the maturity exam. Have a good crisis. The second one is from Josep Maria Esquirol. And it's very interesting, the difference between needs and desires. And if you have a look at the text before the film, in the third paragraph, you can find the essence the focus of his ideas when he says desires are from pictures generated by ourselves. To desire for something is when I make pictures in my mind, in my brain, in my corazón. I make my own pictures of something nice, something beautiful. This is desire, and it is not needs. And when we speak about integrated education, we have to help our students to have desires, to have plans. Now they are really burnt out. The global change, the global crisis, no future. They are afraid, they are frightened, there are no perspectives. It's important in integrated education to help them to make desires and to create their own pictures about their future and their life. So now this second one.
Aquesta seria oportú pel tema que ens ocupa.
It's very
Fer aquesta
3
distinció
minutes.
entre el moviment relacionat amb això que anomenem desig, o, dit d'una altra forma, el moviment que podem qualificar de desig i el moviment que podem qualificar de necessitat. Quines serien les característiques de la necessitat? Bàsicament, ja la paraula és bastant descriptiva, o sigui, és un moviment que t'agafa tan fortament que de forma necessària has de fer alguna cosa i aconseguir apaivagar temporalment, si més no, la necessitat. Què passaria, en canvi, amb un altre moviment que anomenaríem desig? No necessàriament s'ha d'interpretar en termes de necessitat, sinó que fins i tot es pot arribar a interpretar en termes de creació. O sigui, tu generes alguna cosa, tu crees alguna cosa. Ets tu que configures una situació, que imagines. Imaginar és simplement treballar amb imatges, i tu imagines una situació i això que tu imagines ho vols. En aquest sentit, la frase aquesta és molt oportuna, perquè justament el que costa és generar, el que costa més és crear. Nosaltres què generem? O cap on apunta, millor dit, allò que generem? Cap on va? Això ho va tractar Hegel. Deia que el desig fonamental, el desig humà fonamental, és el desig de reconeixement. Nosaltres ens movem, molt sovint, no dic òbviament únicament, però ens movem amb el desig de crear situacions en les quals nosaltres comptem. I comptar vol dir ser tingut en compte. Pot tenir, per exemple, un registre social i polític. De fet, això és el que pensa Hegel. Hegel pensa que allò que ha mogut la història és el desig de reconeixement que s'ha traduït a nivell social com una estructura que anomenem estat de dret, en la qual tots comptem com a u. I per això Hegel considera que aquesta creació que és l'estat de dret és la fita política més excel·lent de totes. Per això s'expliquen les revolucions. Les revolucions surten del desig, o sigui, surten de les ganes de. No només cerquem aquest reconeixement formal, no només volem, diguéssim, aquesta mena d'igualtat de drets, sinó que també volem ser tingut en compte en la nostra singularitat. Si un és pintor, doncs el que vol és que algú apreciï, és a dir, estimi els seus quadres, perquè són els seus quadres. Aquest moviment que porta cap aquí a fer les coses de manera que es produeixi això és un desig. I aquest és el motiu pel qual, efectivament, es pot acabar, diguem, aquest itinerari senzill parlant de l'estimació, és a dir, d'alguna manera hi ha una forma de reconeixement que té a veure amb l'amor, que té a veure amb l'estimació. I segurament és la forma més intensa de reconeixement que hi ha, és a dir, sentir-se estimat, el desig de sentir-se estimat és probablement el més potent de tots.
Is it so important for me? I think it's in connection with the Piarist philosophy of accompanying. You know, in all our institutions is a main aim personal accompanying of students. And when he speaks about the singularity of human being, that we want to be, we desire for recognition in our singularity, it's a main question of accompanying. And he says a painter wants someone to appreciate and love his painting because they are so. And that's a key to the students, to be loved because he or she is so in his or her singularity. It's important when we speak about accompanying. And the last one from Sir Ken Robinson, it's about creativity and failure and about the Nokia man when the failure isn't problem.
Of childhood. What you have there is a person of extraordinary dedication who found a talent. And my contention is all kids have tremendous talents and we squander them pretty ruthlessly. So I want to talk about education and I want to talk about creativity. My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Thank you. That was it, by the way. Thank you very much. So, 15 minutes left. Well, I was born... No, I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6, and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said, this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her, and she said, what are you drawing? And the girl said, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher said, but nobody knows what God looks like. And the girl said, they will in a minute. When my son was 4 in England, actually he was 4 everywhere, to be honest. I mean, if we're being strict about it, wherever he went, he was 4 that year. But he was in the Nativity play. Do you remember the story? No, it was big. It was a big story. Mel Gibson did the sequel. You may have seen it. I don't know. It was Nativity 2. But James got the part of Joseph, which we were thrilled about. We consider this to be one of the lead parts. We had the place crammed full of agents and T-shirts, you know. James Robinson is Joseph. He didn't have to speak, but do you know the bit where the 3 kings come in? They come in bearing gifts, and they bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This really happened. We're sitting there, and they, I think, just went out of sequence. Because we talked to the little boy afterwards and said, you know, are you OK with that? And they said, yeah, why was that wrong? They just switched. I think that was it. Anyway, the 3 boys came in, little 4-year-olds with tea towels on their heads, and they put these boxes down. The first boy said, I bring you gold. And the second boy said, I bring you myrrh. And the third boy said, Frank sent this. That was great. What these things have in common, you see, is that kids will take a chance. You know, if they don't know, they'll have a go. Am I right? They're not frightened of being wrong. Now, I don't mean to say that being wrong is the same thing as being creative. What we do know is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. And we run our companies this, by the way. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out.
The key sentence for me, if you are not prepared to be wrong, You will never come up with anything original. Not to be frightened. Be brave in the school. That's the end. Thank you very much. And it is said that you can ask questions or similar. Thank you very much. Thank you for the niños. You can ask as well in Spanish and it will be translated for me.
András, itt már van egy jelentkező.
So I just want to ask you about this video because you said we are afraid of making mistake. And Kalasan said about preventive education. What do you think about that?
So in Kalazan's letters, this preservativo is very similar to the Don Bosco teachers. I think it's from Kalazan's to to go before the wrong things be there. So, and that's the same what Thomas Mann speaks about, that nicht wollen, nicht leben. We shouldn't say when they have their diseases, but we have to help them before. With the programs, with the common activities, with the sports, with the dramas, with the nativity performances. In Hungary, we are working in the demarcation for a common project. I will share it with you through the technology, of which the name is Learning by Creating, and I think it's one of the best method as a preservativo. Sorry.
Fiacre Diata de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Merci pour votre exposé. J'ai juste une petite question d'éclaircissement. Je souhaiterais savoir, selon vous, si est-ce possible d'appliquer ou d'expliquer la théorie de l'éducation intégrale à partir des 4 piliers de l'éducation, à savoir apprendre à connaître, apprendre à faire, apprendre à vivre et apprendre à être. Merci.
Volt benne kérdés? Kérdés része volt. It's a failure for me. It's a failure because I'm not an expert of that method, but I'm sure that it's just the same or similar to integrated method. But I can't give you a good answer, sorry.
The next question is coming from that side.
Good questions and weak answers.
Buenos días.
Desiderio. Quería saber, durante vuestra exposición habéis hablado sobre una acotación de Catholic School Publish the Sacred Congregation for Catholic Education. Habéis dicho que la educación no solo consiste en integrar a los jóvenes o a los cristianos en la fe y en la cultura, sino hacer que ellos mismos descubren o se integren en la fe y en la vida. Quería conocer cómo es posible esa metodología, porque el mundo de hoy es muy difícil. Esta metodología personal, de integración personal y de descubrimiento personal, ¿cómo es posible y cómo se puede hacer? Muchas gracias.
A difficult question. I think if I live in if I see a kind of models, way of life, if it becomes a part of my life, if the practice, if the daily routine is familiar for me, then it is a kind of learning. I think if we speak anything about anything, just like this situation now, I speak about something. To speak about something, it's nothing. So to educate for the life, I think is the practice to do something, to live together with somebody, to, as it is said by Anselm Grün, who is a Benedictine monk. Anselm Grün speaks in a writing about the rights, the ritus, the right of the community, the right of the rights, is it rights? The order of the day, the daily order, the order of the life in a family, in a community. And if you live in a situation, it can be part of your life, and it can be part of your life later. So not to teach, or I think in Spanish education is formación, no? To form the character, to form his life. For example, los niños. For example, in every day we form their way of life in the school. I can't form Mátyás, his personality, and neither I want it. I don't want to form his personality, but I can form his daily routine, daily order, what to do, how to do it near the altar, on the mass, how to do it on the lessons, how to do it when he is with his friends. But not with words, not with teaching, not with expressions and speech, but with practice, living together, and it becomes the part of their life.
Buen día, soy de Argentina, me llamo Sergio.
Just a moment.
Soy de Argentina, me llamo Sergio. Me parece genial que hayan venido niños, jóvenes, porque la educación es algo real. No son teorías en el aire, sino cosas que pasan y que dan o no dan resultado. Me gustaría, no sé si es propiamente una pregunta, pero me parece genial esto de la creatividad, de la libertad, de la autonomía como una meta. Y me parece que lo preservativo y sanativo, en el mismo memorial del cardenal Tonti, está con lo iluminativo y lo inductivo. Entonces ese riesgo un poco a veces rusoniano, ¿no? De hacer una parte y la otra no. Entonces, ¿cuánto más se puede crear cuando la tradición de la que somos herederos y beneficiarios enriquece mi creatividad? Y creo que el acento del et, de piedad y letras, ayuda a comprender que esas dos cosas tienen que tener una sinergia que dé más libertad, pero aprovechando más lo que ya pensaron otros. Porque las ideas que ya están pensadas, ¿para qué volverlas a pensar si ya están pensadas? Entonces me pareció muy provocativo cómo lograr ese equilibrio y los proyectos que pueden ayudarnos a que sea así.
Thank you very much. It's exciting problem to find a balance, because they have to get a lot of knowledge and competencies at the same time. And the other one which you have mentioned as is important, and especially in the country of Jorge Luis Borges, it's really important, the story, because you mentioned the theoretical approach. I think it's end of theory. The theories was those of the modern age, but now we are in the post-modern age, and theories have lost. And the new paradigm of thinking is that of stories. And all of los niños had their stories. And it's much more important than theories, theoretical approach, because you hear a theory and you experience it's not true for me and for my classroom. But if you hear a story, it's just the opposite, because nobody said that it's about you, but maybe you feel, oh, it's true for me. So I think now it's the age of stories. You are right, not the theories. But the Piarist history is just this. We have the genes, the genetic heritage, as Father Pedro mentioned yesterday, the genetic heritage of Calazans is the apostolic continuity, and all of my knowledge and practice is from other Piarist fathers and teachers. As in the genetics, we can get it and we can pass it for the other generations, for example, Mátyás or Lukács or Ákos or Zétény. It's a genetical story of the Piarist order. Thank you very much, your patience.
Thank you very much, András. And we have asked József Urban to have a pleasant duty here.
András, I want to thank you in the name of all those present, your presentation. And you kept mentioning in your multilingual presentation, you kept mentioning two words in Spanish. One was corazón, and the other one was niños. You kept mentioning corazón, niños, corazón, niños. And I think that's what happened to us. So you led us to the corazon of Calazans, of our vocation, of the beauty of teaching. You really touched our hearts. And the picture that I want to give you, it's about Calazans, but not Calazans alone, but with the other person that you kept mentioning, with the niños, with Ákos, Zétény, Lukács, Mátyás. Please come here. I would like to thank... Maybe it's enough. This clapping was enough. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.